Not everyone is lucky enough to experience it, but when it's given, a mother's love should be cherished. It's something that you can rely on to make you feel safe and warm. But sometimes through life, things do go wrong, and love just isn't enough to hold a broken mind together. And when things shatter, they shatter into a million pieces, never to be put together again. Viewer discretion is advised for this educational documentary. Welcome or welcome back to CASE Documentaries. I bring you true crime, disturbing stories and other things that you may later regret knowing with regular uploads every week. Please do join the quickly growing CASE family by hitting subscribe now and turning on notifications. Thank you so much to all of my patrons. If your name is on screen right now, then you're a legend. Let's get straight into today's dark case. Our love and respect goes out to all those affected. Anna Leikovic was born in 1999 in Komrat, Moldova, to her mother Praskovya Leikovic and her father Vasily Aladov. He was a wealthy landowner turned politician who had aspirations for the governorship of Komrat. He has been described as controversial, ruthless, and quick to anger and violence. Anna spent most of her formative years in Moldova, but she did not live with her father. Shortly after she was conceived, Praskovya and Vasily split. Praskovya was a medical student and only 19 years old at the time Anna was conceived. The relationship just didn't last. Vasily started another family and eventually had a son, but he still remained in his daughter's life. Between Vasily and Praskovya, Anna didn't want for much and she grew up with a great deal of independence. When she was 18, her mother moved to Germany for work, but Anna didn't follow. By that point, Anna already had her own apartment and she was attending a private college. It was around this time that Anna started posting on Instagram and to other social media sites. Like other young people her age, Anna longed for the attention and status of having a large social media presence. In the beginning, her posts didn't really gain much traction, but over time, she learned from other girls on the site. She would post risque photos. She posed with big-name clothing brands and accessories, and flaunted the affluent lifestyle her father's money had afforded her. She even went as far as undergoing cosmetic surgeries to further her goal of becoming a social media influencer. She eventually amassed a following of 9,400 people on Instagram. By the time Anna turned 21, she was following in her mother's footsteps. She enrolled in medical school where she was a model student, according to her teachers. Her academic performance remained unaffected by her new fast lifestyle, which had recently grown to include illicit substances. And now with no parent to reel her in, Anna quickly became addicted to these substances in 2019 and persisted with the self-destructive habit up until 2020. Her lifestyle of partying and substances came to a screeching halt when a life-threatening accident put her in the hospital, and this drew the attention of her concerned mother. In regards to where Anna came from, Komrat is a city and municipality in Moldova, and it's the capital of the autonomous region of Gagauzia. It's located in the south of the country and has a modest population of 20,000 people. It was in this city that Anna lived while she was attending medical school, and it was where her mother returned to after hearing about the accident. In late November of 2020, Anna found herself at a private party. There she drank and used substances like she had done dozens of times before. But something went wrong this time around. She overdosed during the party and ended up in the emergency room. Her family was alerted, as is routine, and her mother now properly learned of her daughter's substance issues. Up until that point, no one knew that Anna was out of control yet again. In her teenage years, she did have a problem with alcohol, an addiction that Mother Praskovya thought she'd helped her overcome with the help of a psychologist. It shattered the mother when she learned that her daughter had been using illicit substances for over a year without her noticing. It was even more painful because of her history with alcohol. It became apparent to the mother that all of this independence and all of the distance that she'd given to Anna had left her in a vulnerable position rather than strengthening her. She knew that Anna could not fight for her sobriety on her own. She realized that an intervention, as late as it was the only way to help her gain control once again. She feared for her daughter's safety, feared for her daughter's future, if she continued down this same path. She was a stellar medical student, well on her way to completing her education and to becoming a doctor. Another repeat of November could put an end to that dream, or to her life. So she arranged for a detox clinic and flew to Moldova to talk to her daughter that she had only seen a few times that year. She reached Moldova on December the 11th, 2020, and arrived at her daughter's apartment at 6:26 p.m. She found Anna drunk and high on substances. An argument broke out between the mother and daughter. The mother demanded that Anna put a stop to her substance use, but Anna flat out refused. Given the levels of freedom, reputation and control she'd previously had over her life, it now seemed absurd that her mother would try to give her orders. While the mother and daughter were actually close, Praskovya had been abroad for years, and it felt like she had hardly any grounds to tell her daughter what to do. When Praskovya saw that there was no reasoning with Anna, she told her about the detox she signed her up for without her consent. Anna's reaction surpassed what the mother or anyone would have predicted. Anna grabbed a sharp kitchen implement and swiped it at her mother. It left her almost helpless on the floor, but Anna's attack did not stop there. The wound that was started with the sharp implement was now pried open with Anna's bare hands. She ripped out her heart, lungs, and intestines, while her mother was still breathing. She used her newly learned medical knowledge to devastating effect. Praskovya, unsurprisingly, passed, her final moments stunned and petrified in the unbelievable pain that her own daughter could do this. Anna dropped the organs that she'd removed in the trash like it was the most normal thing in the world. She then hopped in a shower to clean off the red. She styled her hair, got a fresh change of clothes, and left her apartment with her mother's body lying on the floor. Her destination was the apartment of her then boyfriend in Comrat. On arrival, Anna demanded champagne. Her boyfriend fulfilled her request, and much later in the evening, she calmly, almost casually mentioned to him that she'd ended her mother's life. The boyfriend obviously thought she was lying, but when she was less than forthcoming with the details, he became curious and kept the rest of his questions to himself, perhaps to keep himself safe. Later that night, after Anna was asleep, the boyfriend slipped out and travelled over to her apartment to satisfy his curiosity. The door opened to a scene from a nightmare. Anna's boyfriend then placed a call to the police, and when they arrived 2 hours later at 10:13 p.m, they were shocked by the brutality laid out in front of them. Praskovya's organs were indeed found in the trash, exactly where Anna dumped them. It's unclear whether the police actually found the weapon, the sharp kitchen implement. However, they gathered enough evidence to arrest Anna as a chief suspect of the crime. When the police arrived at her boyfriend's apartment to arrest her, Anna had disappeared. They eventually managed to arrest her 72 hours later at a friend's house. Anna was taken into custody and sent to a local prison, where she stayed for 30 days until the date of her arraignment. While all of the evidence pointed towards Anna as the obvious perpetrator of the murder, the police still chased down other leads because they thought the motivation seemed insufficient, given the extremely grisly nature of the crime. Anna's uncle Vladimir, who was interviewed about the event, spoke of the relationship between their mother and daughter. This was a very good family. Praskovya loved her daughter so much, and she spent as much time with her as she could. It took only 2 hours for the police to tell me Anna was the main suspect. I could never imagine this. And indeed, the threat of a rehabilitation centre hardly seemed like sufficient motivation for extreme actions like this. Anna had no previous history with law enforcement or violence, even during her addiction. It seems like even when she was using, she was still highly functioning, able somewhat to balance her social life with her responsibilities at medical school. Anna's father was also questioned about the crime. Given his many controversies and history, was it possible that he had something to do with it? Perhaps Anna had met some bad people through her father, and through her addiction she owed them some money. Or maybe one of Vasily's rivals targeted Praskovya to get to him. There were even theories that Vasily himself might have done the deed. However, they were quickly put to rest, as he had an alibi when the murder had occurred. Try as they might, the police were unable to identify any other suspects in the murder of Praskovya Leikovic. Anna was going to have to stand trial, and the evidence was not in her favour. When news broke of Anna's arrest and the crime that she was suspected of committing, the country, and indeed the world, was stunned. A local newspaper reported, citing the police, she stabbed her mother with a knife and then cut out the heart of a living woman. It's hard to believe, but she cut out her heart in the most literal sense. After her arrest, Anna refused to cooperate with law enforcement and exhibited inappropriate and incomprehensible behaviour in prison and at her arraignment. While her fate hung in the balance, Anna seemed more preoccupied with her nails. She lay down on a defendant's bench, picking at her hands, even as the judge addressed her. At another moment, she stood on the defendant's bench, holding up 2 fingers in a peace sign. As she was being led out of the court, a journalist asked her if she had killed her mother. Anna replied with a creepy laugh and said goodbye. After the hearing, Anna's lawyers sought to declare her incompetent to stand trial. By this stage, she had clearly not exhibited any remorse or emotion since her arrest. Since she also seemed to be entirely unaware of what was happening around her, her defense argued that she was clearly experiencing some sort of mental episode. And after several psychiatric evaluations, Anna's lawyers succeeded and was absolved of all criminal responsibility for the murder of her own mother. The judge did not release her back into the general public though, as the incident with her mother had proved she was a danger to society. She was sent to a high-security psychiatric hospital in September of 2021 instead. There she'll hopefully receive the help that she needs, and may one day become well enough to reintegrate into society once again, although it is quite unlikely. Anna's dormant social media account gained 5,000 more followers in the months after her sentencing before it was eventually deleted. However, some of her posts have been archived by other users. She was dubbed the Monster of Moldova, and, in a way, she gained the fame that it seemed she wanted. There have been speculations about whether Anna's mental breakdown was genuine or was a calculated move. Pleading insanity is a popular strategy that criminals may use to evade harsher judgments, and there is a theory that the 21-year-old may have managed to con her way into a lighter sentence. But whatever the case may be, Anna Leikovic is still detained and won't be released to the general public for a long time, if ever again. What do you think happened here? Do you think the punishment fits the crime? And what do you think can be done to avoid something like this happening again in the future? Please do let me know down in the comments. Hit like if you appreciate what I'm doing here. Remember, I'm posting daily for the rest of the year, and be careful out there, and I'll see you soon.